Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome
Uh,
to another edition of My Morning Coffee with Tonya, Tia, and Dr.
Yeah.
today. Glad you guys could join us. It's going to be a pretty interesting show. We're going to talk about some things in depth that we probably should have been covering. But today, our good doctor is going to lead us through this conversation that is well overdue. So before we get started, everybody, let's talk about what's in your cup, what you've been up to, and what's kind of on your mind today. Gia, go ahead and get started for us.
Oh, before we get started, I just want to say we're missing Miss Sarita B is not here today. She's busy with clients. So for all our viewers and listeners, we're -1 today. But she's here in spirit. What's in my cup is I have some nice coffee with some hazelnut creamer. And that's about it. That's in my cup. As far as what I've been up to since the last time we was on air, pretty much the kind of same, still going to work, being an essential worker. So I'm still leaving the house every day, going to work, going to my nice county job. And that's been fun. Things are always changing every day. It's something different we're doing, but we are adjusting. I'm really proud of the men and women of LA County Sheriff's Department, especially in the custody division. They have they've stepped up, and every changes that we've had to make due to what either a possible case, or if we've had a case, or just trying to redo how we do business. They've been doing their job and doing it really great. So I want to applaud them. Other than that, as far as outside of work, I've just been coming home and
Wait a minute.
Not much outside of work, is there?
That's not true. You got to share about what happened at the bank the other day. Hashtag COVID crazy.
Oh, okay. Am I supposed to
yeah,
tweet it now too, Tonya? Am I do a clinical
No, let Gia
intervention on
tell
it?
her story because the people need to know.
Okay, so you guys all know, I'm a caregiver. I take care of my mom. So I was doing some errands for her on Saturday, and I was gonna do them Friday, and I was like, no, Friday's the first. Everybody's gonna be in the bank Friday. I'll just get up and go on Saturday, right? Thinking there wasn't gonna be a line or anything. So I get to the bank, and of course there's a line outside the bank all the way down the street. So everybody's in line, and I'm just in line, keeping to myself. I have my mask on. I'm just trying to, because it's hot too on Saturday, so I'm trying to stay still and not worry about anything. All of a sudden, I hear a confrontation, and I look up, and it's like these two men are like going at it about the social distancing. All I hear is like, I'm gonna cuss, so you make it sound good. Man, you need to get the fuck off of me. And I look up and I'm like, oh my God, like what the heck is going on? So they're exchanging words, and and it was just like they got loud. It was only one guy was really loud. Another guy, you could tell he was saying things back to him, talking shit probably. And all you hear, I don't give a fuck who you are, go get your homies. And I was like, oh my God, it's
the bank.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God. So I'm trying to think, here I am. I'm off duty, right? I'm like, okay, so I'm in line. I'm trying to be a civilian, So I'm like, okay, so easy. I'm like, so, okay, is this going to go escalate even more? And I'm like, okay, Gia, so what are you going to do? Okay. So you're looking, so the lady behind me, so she just started like, oh, Lord Jesus. I said, I know, we just got to pray. We got to pray. I said, everybody's, I think if the whole quarantine is getting to people and their patience is thin, I said, we all have a mask on. I said, but I guess the guy felt the other guy was too close to him. He wasn't on the little dot that the bank had, put out for you to stand on. And the one guy was tall, and he goes, I'm 6 feet. You're nowhere 6 feet away from me. And I was like, oh my God, it was kind of heated. So I had my camera and I was gonna videotape it. Then I said, nah, I'm not. So that was my little Saturday. That was my Saturday COVID-19 experience with the people. So that was kind of
with the people.
Yes, yeah, you know me, out with the people, but so yeah. So that was Saturday.
How How are things in the county facility with your staff? How are they holding up? What's their spirits like? It has to be difficult to be an essential worker right now.
Well, yeah, they're holding up pretty good, but of course, everybody wants to get out. They want to go on vacations because a lot of our vacations were canceled. So people who have vacations, like in the month of April and now May, they're not able to go. So they're still kind of like feeling some kind of way about that. But for the most part, everybody's coming to work. We haven't been hit too hard in the facility that I work in. I work in the females jail, so it's been pretty good. And of course, the county, we've been releasing a lot of people, so our population, our count has gone down. So that's a good thing. So, and we're trying to social distance and, the inmate population too. So that has helped with us releasing people. We can spread the inmates out. They're not on top of each other like before. Because normally in some modules, you can have anywhere between 130 to 150 people in a module living. So that's like really close. So, yeah.
So the staff's doing okay. You're doing okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. Good to hear it. Dr. G.
You kind of.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to tell you, thank you very much for getting me on the show. I appreciate it. So thanks.
So what's in your cup, Dr. G? And
well, there's coffee, and I'm trying to be healthy. So there's almond milk as creamer. But I'm actually thinking there's some real cream in the fridge, and I really want to get it.
No flavor?
I'm going to stick to being healthy.
No flavor in your coffee?
No, I like it plain.
Okay.
Oh, Dr. G. I don't know. You need some flavor.
Maybe that's revealing too much information. But anyway, you probably read a lot about someone depending on what kind of coffee they drink.
There's things to say about people that like it plain, but we'll just leave it there.
Okay.
So what else is going on with you? What have you been up to? And tell us about
I'm thinking about what Gia said. I mean, my life hasn't changed dramatically. I've been very busy with patients. The thing that's changed the most is I've moved my whole practice online and doing telehealth. It's not exactly the same thing, and it's a little bit different, but most patients are adapting pretty well and recognizing that they're grateful to be able to have this opportunity to talk through social media. So I've been really busy that way. I started my new television show on Beyond TV, Dr. G, Engaging Minds. What we've done is we were supposed to go in the studio a few weeks ago. So we're doing what everyone else is doing. We're going to start online. And on May 12th, we'll start broadcasting. It's where I interview people talking about, mostly I focus on addiction and how people can transform their lives and create amazing lives through sobriety. So I've been very busy with that and interviewing. And I love, being able to do my work in a dress shirt and sweatpants. So it's been pretty great.
Dr. G, you have some pretty interesting clientele. Why don't you tell the people about some of the, let's say, more interesting individuals that you've had the opportunity to interview on your past shows?
Well, I just did an interview, the one that's on May 12th with Eric Roberts and the actor. And it was a very interesting interview because we were focusing on quarantine and what his experience has been like, especially as a creative person. And what he said to me was he finds that he's getting actually deeper and more into his creativity, that instead of using this time as framing it as isolation, he said it's more reflection and it's more time to get deeper into, studying characters, reading scripts. So he's trying to be very productive around that. And I also interviewed Billy Morrison, who was the rhythm lead guitarist for Billy Idol and a bunch of other big rock groups. And he was saying the same thing, that, well, he said something interesting because, I spent most of my time alone anyway, being a guitarist. So it hasn't been a big shift in my life. But as a creative artist, again, I'm using this time in a very productive way to be able to get deeper into my work. And that's what I think the choice that people ultimately have. You can use this time to deal with, the to focus on the frustration, and I'm not minimizing the fact that this is a very difficult time, or you can make the choice and say, you know, it is what it is, and I'm going to do all those things I haven't had a chance to do, like write a script, get a degree, learn a language, whatever it is, to keep myself productive and creative.
Very good. Well, we are definitely
You
looking
know,
to supporting the TV show. Go ahead, Gia.
I'm finding with this whole thing that I'm finding out a lot about. It seems as though people don't know how to be still or be with themselves, and that's striking to me, because it's like I'm like Dr. G. My life hasn't really changed much, other than, you know, that a few places that I usually go to, I don't get to go to, but I know it's not the end of the world. I will be able to go to those places again. So I don't understand all the anxiety that some people are having about, and the frustration about, you know, like you hear everybody wants to go out now and the big protesting and things. It's like, you know, it's going to come back eventually, people. Let's just, you know, let it do its course.
Exactly. I think people need to be very patient right now, and you know, we have to be the ones who change. The virus is going to do what the virus is going to do, and there's some great scientists and professionals out there that you know, the world is doing the best to find their solution. The change has to come with us, and to be patient.
I'm always wonder about people that find in this moment of isolation that they don't really like the life that they built, right? They figure out maybe they haven't raised their kids to be as independent as they probably need to be in this situation. Maybe there's some codependency in their partnerships and spousal relationships. What kind of advice do you have for those people? Because I know it can be a struggle right now, and eventually it'll, you know, open up. But what are some of the ways that they can go about making some of those alterations in their lifestyle that they've built and now realize they don't like it so much?
Well, like I said, I think what's great about this time, when you think about it psychologically, we're all forced to deal with ourselves. So everyone's stuff comes to the surface because there aren't a lot of distractions. You can't go out shopping. You can't really go out drinking. You can't do a lot of stuff except deal with yourself. So in a great way, it can be a very powerful cleansing moment. And there's a lot of people available out there. I know a lot of therapists that are working right now that are very busy. There's a lot of services out there, and people are available because they're basically home. One of my jokes with patients I always say is, "Oh, I'm so glad I caught you at home." But, you know, there is stuff out there, and take this as a time to be reflective. Do the therapy you need to do, the spiritual growth you need to do, and don't use it as an excuse. You know, don't use this time as an excuse to overindulge in your anxiety or your self-pity.
Pity. What did you do this weekend? I heard it was pretty interesting.
Well, actually, let me mention two things that I thought were interesting. And this is where, yesterday I took a drive. I needed to get out of the house, and I drove down to Santa Monica. And I knew I couldn't go to the beach, but I wanted to walk along, you know, the cliff, the edge, on Ocean. And it was all closed, and it was all boarded up, and there were fences. I found it very depressing, and it disturbed me, because I felt like things I love to do were taken away. But what I did is I got home and I really thought about it, and I thought what the meanings meant to me. And then it spurred me creatively, and I wrote a piece about it. And it helped me dig deeper into things. And I thought, you know, this is going to make me ultimately a better person and a better therapist, and be able to give better service to my clients. So I took something that was disturbing, and I felt like I really sat and meditated and transformed the experience. And the other thing I experienced yesterday that I wanted to share with everyone here is, in my neighborhood, there's a group called #Solidarity@8. So what it is it's at 8 p.m. every night, people go to their windows, they go to their cars, they honk horns, they scream outside their window, they scream on the street. And what they're doing is they're thanking all the healthcare workers, everybody on the front line, for taking a risk that day. And it was such an incredible experience. It gave me like goosebumps. Maybe I started crying because I felt like, you know, I wasn't alone in this. There was a purpose. And that's what people, there was a sacrifice that we were doing to keep people alive. And I would recommend that people in their own neighborhoods create an experience like that. You know, there were flyers up, so people were able to organize, but to remind us that even though we're isolating, we're not alone.
Dr. G, I have a question because I know you
Sure.
deal with a lot and talk a lot about people who suffer from addiction or are dealing with addiction currently. And I know before COVID-19, people that, you know, alcoholics or narcotics, you know, substance abusers who are recovering and stuff, they would go to groups. They would have group meetings. I don't know if it's once a month, once a week. And then with COVID happened,
Sure.
now nobody can meet. So how does a person who is recovering and who had been attending group meetings on a regular, how do you have anything that you can give to those people to help them try to cope during this time? But before you answer that, I think we got Sarita on here. So I want
Yeah, why don't you
everybody to
say
say
hello?
hi
Hi,
to Sarita.
Sarita.
Sarita, come up. I thought I saw her pop in.
How are you? Sorry,
yeah.
it was a little noisy. In the
What's in-
background, it's not street sweeping, but hedge cutting day. So, hello everyone. My cup is full of smoothie today, which I'm not too excited about, but you know, hey, whatever. I'd much prefer to have some coffee. Let's see. Are we doing check-in? Like, how are we doing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and check in, and
What
then
you been
I'll
up to?
respond to Gia's question.
You go ahead and do Gia's question then. It's okay.
Oh, no, okay, whatever. Well, Gia, actually, all the meetings, the AA meetings, have moved online.
Okay.
And people, it's very simple. They can just go to Alcoholics Anonymous, and it will list their meetings in the area and all the different meetings, whether it's Cocaine Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, overeating. It's been a very interesting experience with my clients who are doing it, because at first they said it's not the same. They're not able to really connect with someone. But a new model, a new experience is starting to emerge. They're actually being able to connect to people all around the world that they hadn't been able to do. So they're getting a global experience of what they're going through, and they're finding that fascinating. So that's what I mean, taking the reality of an experience and go, okay, it's not the same, it's different, but wow, I'm in a meeting with somebody in Germany right now, and I'm getting a different perspective on some of my issues.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Miss Sarita. So now let us know what you've been up to.
Oh, great.
Yes, ma'am. We need to know what's been up with you.
I have been very overwhelmed in these last time since we met. I've had quite a lot to change in my life. So it has been a really trying time for me. A lot. So last week my grandfather died. Not the one that lives downstairs from me, but my one in New York.
New York.
Yeah, he transitioned from COVID. So he was in a rehab facility, and he was diagnosed with COVID, and he survived for like 45 minutes. And so he coded, and then they brought him back. And then he coded again, and the doctor recommended that don't try to revive him. So as a family, we took the recommendation and let him go. So that was on the 29th, and I guess the Monday was the 27th. My grandfather, who lives downstairs, was released from the hospital, but now it's, he is going to have a feeding tube for the rest of his life. He has to have everything administered from the feeding tube. He can no longer use his mouth for things. He's trying to get like apple juice and orange juice down, but he chokes because his throat muscles are so weak. And I am his primary caregiver. So I am up at 7:30, changing things, giving him a bath, just being a caregiver. So it was a lot in 1 week. So yeah, that is what is up. And still seeing a caseload of 18, and still making my household run. I can't stop right now because financially.
Yeah, you have a lot. Yeah, you have a lot on your plate. My condolences to you and your family about your grandfather, because we were there
I'm really
when you
sorry
talked about him
that.
before. So, but we'll talk offline, because there's resources that are available to assist you. Because with me, when my mom had her stroke,
Right.
I had to find out a lot of stuff and do a lot of stuff. So we'll talk online, and you might already know some of these things, but you need to tap into some of these resources. And I know it's going to be kind of hard right now because of the whole, you can't go anywhere, you can't go to any places, you got to do everything online or via the phone. But stay strong and take it one day at a time.
Thanks.
What are you doing to secure your mental wellness? Because I know that's hard. One of the things I've learned from you is that therapists need therapy. So out of curiosity, who are you?
Oh, I have therapy at 3:00 on Wednesday every week. I've never missed a day. I've never missed a week. Dr. Rowe is amazing. And so that's been really helpful. I've elicited the support of my cousin and Kevin, and that's cool. So yeah, I'm doing what I need to. I'm taking the moments when I have to. I am doing my best to scale back on a lot of things because I just can't do anymore. Like, I'm completely overwhelmed and over extended.
Yeah.
So the things that I can move around, I do. But life still has to go on, and I think that's the thing about grief, is that you're doing it simultaneously with life, and sometimes it could get be a little bit of a struggle, but I think that everyone has some form of grief that they've gone through, and you've had to do it with life. So it allows you to sit in those moments when you are in the grief, and then once the grief has moved through that moment, then being able, I'm so thankful that I'm able to, as easily as I step into whatever place of grief I'm in that moment, that I'm also able to move through it and step into gratitude, because I've done a lot of the groundwork for myself in going to therapy, that I have really great coping strategies. Not all of them are great. I still go radio silent. But for the most part, that's just so that I can wrap my mind around what's going on, and then I resurface when I need to. So, yeah, I'm handling it.
I guess for
but
both.
That's not what this is about. We're here to talk about Dr. Goals.
Well, no, for both of you, Dr. G and Sarita, do you have a common theme on issues that people are bringing to you these days? Is it all around COVID, or does it seem like COVID is making some of the things maybe they were dealing with previously enhanced?
I just wanted to add to what Sarita said about ways of dealing with this. I agree with 100% with everything that she said. I've also found that, and I'd love to hear what you think, Sarita, it's pretty exhausting dealing with patients, because I would say that 99% of what I'm dealing with is issues people have around COVID. So if they had issues in their, let's say with addiction, now it's getting coupled with issues of, how do I deal with my addiction around this COVID crisis? How do I deal with relationships around this COVID crisis? So a lot of the sessions can be very intense. And at the beginning when this started, I was just wiped out. I felt I was taking naps all day. And then I realized I really needed to set up some strong boundaries and self-care for myself, whether it's talking to a therapist, working out. My dog is having many, many, many walks. I think every time she looks at me, she says to me, like, again, we were just out. And not feel guilty about taking those boundaries, telling people I'm not available. Even scheduling, sometimes if it's a heavy day, trying to schedule the next day a little bit lighter. And trying to have my weekends to myself to do the other things I need to do. So boundaries for me have helped incredibly. And yes, to answer your question, in my experience, I'm almost surprised when someone brings up something that isn't COVID related. But that seems to be the focus of most people I'm dealing with, because it's like PTSD. Everyone's still in shock and trying to process through what just happened. And I believe we're just at the beginning of it. This is going to go on for a long time. And we've got to keep processing through it and figuring out how we're going to deal with it, because it's new to all of us, including us therapists. We've never had this experience before in our lifetime. So and people are always asking me for answers like, hey, Dr. G, when is this going to be over? How long is this going to go on? And I said, I can only look at what the experts are saying, and they're telling us at least a year. That doesn't necessarily mean we'll be in our houses for a year, but this is here for a while, and we have to prepare for that.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I actually have a very different response in terms of many of my clients aren't coming with COVID. I work with primarily mostly people of color, and also creatives. So for what I'm seeing right now, and I wonder if this is to kind of go into the racial disparities as well, at least for the community that I work with, because many of my clients have been poor, have been under some form of stress and PTSD before in their lives. And so, there's a saying in the Black community that when the nation or when the world gets a cold, Black folks get pneumonia. So this is almost like there's a certain business as usual that is happening with many of my clients, where we're still talking about, relationships, anxiety, depression, and it's not necessarily in a COVID blanket right now. And I wonder if that's just because in their lives, many of them have been faced with a lot of different forms of pneumonia, with or without the world getting a cold. So this is just a continuation of that, which is very shocking to me, because I would think that a lot more of my clients would have stories of them losing loved ones, and things like that. But I haven't found that yet. And I hope that I don't, because it's definitely not something that you want people to have to struggle with on top of isolation. But yeah, that's been surprising to me that I don't have a lot more COVID related. And maybe it's because we're on the West Coast, I don't know. And I even have a practice in Atlanta too, and no.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because I do have a sort of a diverse, I would say sort of a diverse practice. But I agree with you. I think it has to do with the amount of trauma or difficulty or challenges people had faced before in their lives. And then, when this came along, the degree to which they're able to manage it and deal with it may depend on their history and what they've experienced before and what they've worked through before. For people that have never sort of really experienced this kind of challenge like this, they're having a very difficult time. For people, there's also, for people that are sort of experiencing this, that I've also noticed a bunch of people saying, I find this time fascinating and interesting. And as challenging as it is, I see myself rising, becoming a better person for it. So I feel like a lot depends on where you're coming from before the crisis.
Dr. G, why don't you talk to us about how your childhood has kind of prepared you for the isolation that COVID has kind of brought
Oh,
upon us?
sure. You know, I was sparked by that after I told you the story yesterday
Great
where I went
segue,
to...
Tonya.
What was that?
Oh, I was telling Tonya, great segue.
Okay. I would love to talk to you more about that, Sarita, too. I'd be curious to hear more of that experience.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. Because, you know, here's the other thing. Us therapists aren't talking enough to one another
True.
about our
Because
experience.
we're used to being isolated. Having a
Because we're
private practice
isolated.
is a very isolating job. Being a therapist, even though we come into contact with many people, it's still very isolating, and we definitely need community. So I
Yeah,
would
and
love
I would
to,
advise that to any therapists who are listening right now, too, to form a
for
community.
sure. I'm not the best at it, but I definitely think that it's a good idea.
Yeah, because again, it's very interesting and it's very helpful to hear your experience.
Sorry to take you off of your
Oh, no,
train
no,
of
that's
thought, Dr.
fine.
D.
I'm good. You know, after that experience yesterday where I went down to San Marco, I found it depressing. I started to think of my own experience. And, you know, when I was around the ages of 6 to 18, I had a bone disease called osteomyelitis, and it was chronic, and it would put me in the hospital many, many times and it was in my legs. I had about 8 surgeries. I had body casts. I would be in a wheelchair for a while because my body couldn't really fight off infection. And because of that experience, I had to spend a lot of time in the hospital in an isolation room. I really was the boy in the bubble. And the room was this tiny little room, and it had a bed and a little chair and a window. And a lot of times I'd look outside the window and I think, like, you know, that's where the normal people live. My life is surrounded around doctors and nurses. And I had a very early life experience of being isolated, and what that I felt did to me, you know, with each time I had the surgery, I had to learn to walk again. I have to go through all this physical therapy, and many times it was embarrassing. You know, I had become very heavy because I wasn't moving, and I wouldn't want to do it. I felt a lot of self-loathing. I felt a lot of shame. I felt a lot of self-pity. And I remember that, you know, we all have these little angels that help us. There was a woman who was a social worker, and one day she came to me and said, I know you're just like 50, but you need to turn this around for yourself. You need to make this into something positive. And she inspired me and supported me. And I felt like I was able to take that experience of being isolated and turn it into something positive. And I feel like I'm re-experiencing that isolation right now. And I wanted to share some of the insights that I was able to discover at an early age. Probably the force that made me become a psychologist was the sense that I didn't have the power over my illness, but I had the power over how I dealt with my illness. I had the power over how I allowed myself to be, you know, destroyed by this illness, or how I allowed myself to actually grow and become a better person. And it taught me very early on to face challenges, to be better than myself, that better than I thought I could be, to face my anxiety and turn something very negative into something positive. That's what I had the power to do. And I related it to what we're going through now with COVID, that I wanted to share with our audience and I've been sharing with my patients. We don't have the power over this disease. As you tell, we can't control it. It's going to do what it's going to do. We can control it by self-isolating and taking and searching for a cure and a vaccine, but we don't have the power over it. But we do have the power over how we choose to deal with it. And, you know, early on in life, the struggles that I had, I felt it made me a better person. It made me more empathetic, more understanding of other people, more open to other people's experiences. And I would like people who are, struggling with COVID right now to also take that attitude that let this make you into a better person. Let it make you more empathetic. Let it make you more creative. Let it make you more powerful. Use it in a positive way, because that's the power that we have. Again, we don't have the power always over the disease, but we have the power how we can choose to deal with it. And I'm hoping in the long run, I'm being optimistic, there's also going to be a psychological new normal. And that will include us being maybe kinder, more understanding, and more empathetic towards other people.
I don't know, Dr. G, what I experienced this weekend.
I know that, but you know what? It's bringing people's stuff to the surface.
Yeah.
And I think both extremes will happen.
Yeah.
I shared that with my group yesterday, G. I'm like, in the bank, they're about to fight in the bank. Like, you should be happy. You have money. Yeah, no.
I know. I mean,
Right.
I'm happy I have a job.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's what I tell my staff every day when they're complaining. I said, our life is not that bad. We have a job. We're getting paid. There are a lot of people who don't have jobs right now because their business, who they work for, is closed, and stuff. So you have to, sometimes you just got to keep reminding people, because people get in their feelings about themselves. Woe is me, but it's a bigger picture. It's not about self. It's something bigger. And I'm all about, that's the small business people. Those people are the ones that are suffering. People like us, who you still have clients. I still have a job to go to. So like I said, our lives and where our financial state really hasn't changed much. And that's what I think a lot of people, what they're worried about is their financial situation, because rent is due, the light bill is due, to get all these things are due. And people are worrying, like, am I going to have enough money to pay all these things?
And I just wanted to qualify, Gia. It's not that, look, I know about, let's say, the darker side. I'm very aware of it. I've seen people fight too. And I know that's present. But I'm trying to find a way to sort of open up a little bit of maybe understanding or experience for people, that there can be something positive that comes out of this. I know it's really tough.
Yeah.
I know it's really hard. I've had 2 patients die. I had one patient who really, I still can't even really deal with it. 20 years a patient. Sarita would know what that feels like. And he died within a week. But I'm just trying to force that door open just a little bit, to give a little bit of hope.
We just gotta just keep doing what we're doing to force it open. And and I think you're right. We are gonna come out better. People just don't see it right now, but I think in the end, when this is all over, it'll be a better society.
I hope we can stick to it too.
I also think that it's just, if we're looking at the stages of grief, this is
absolutely
this. For me, when I hear that people fighting in the bank or fighting in the grocery store, because I've seen, definitely people's heightened emotions in public places right now. For me, that it does give me hope, because even though it's a negative, or what we consider a negative emotion, it's in line and on par with the stages of grief, and people are grieving this time. And my hope is that we can, like Dr. G was speaking, we can bring these things to the surface. I think that's what we're experiencing now. All people are bringing their negative and frustration emotions to the surface. And then over time, as people either work through them, and that's my hope, is that people actually work through them instead of they being
act out on them.
Right. And handle it differently, so that we can take out so we can come to the acceptance stage of grief. Because I think when you surrender, and Dr. G, when you surrender and you accept those moments, that's when the beauty of the experience comes out. When you just say, "Ooh, that shit was really rough."
Yeah.
And I've been able to make it out the other side.
A lot of times I feel like I just wake up in the morning, and if I look at the huge picture or read a lot of negativity in the media, I just want to pull the covers over my head and go back to bed. And I'll say to myself, I just have to deal with today. I have to deal with what's in front of me and make it the best experience possible. And the best
And that's a good strategy, you know, taking things one bite at a time.
It's a cliche, but it works.
It does.
You know, Dr. G, I like that, and I'm going to use it. So you might see it on a T-shirt.
What's that? Do I get my royalties?
Deal with today. Yeah, deal with today. Yeah.
We were Ray and I were talking yesterday about I think he posted, you know, you want to protest because you got to stay in the house. You want to protest the people that come out of the house. You want to protest because you ain't got jobs. You want to protest because they're making you go to work. Like, it just seems like people are looking for a fight. Maybe
Yes.
that's feel alive. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I think the way that Dr. G has stated it, and being able to just take one day at a time and deal with what's in front of you would make things a lot easier, because this I'm fighting just to fight is getting exhausting.
Yeah, and you got to deal with those issues inside of you that I'm sure Sarita would agree. It's not about, you know, when we were at war, this is what I'm trying to, I wish we had a leader that would really lead us in a positive way. When we were at war, we sacrificed. People gave their pots and pans to build arms and stuff like that. I wish people could see this as, yeah, we got to sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice to keep us alive.
Yes.
So we're in our comfortable homes. We still got food. There aren't bombs falling on our head. I'm not saying it's easy, but we got to sacrifice something. And, you know, thank God we have these kind of experiences. We're isolated, but not isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because it looks really different for a lot of people, you know, where we're able to be super, you know, we're able to enjoy sunlight. We're able to enjoy living in our homes that aren't ravaged by domestic violence and ravaged by not having the financial resources to have a house. You know, even though, yes, you can't be evicted from your home right now, it's really, people are thinking about the future. And I think that's the anxiety that comes. It's like, yeah, you may not be able to kick me out now, but as soon as this thing is over, whenever that is, now I have 3, 4, 5 months of rent to pay for, and I can't pay rent the first month. So I think we also, and that's where the living in the gratitude for me is really important, because it allows me to recognize that this shit could be a lot worse. And it is a lot worse for a lot of people. And it may not be the people that I communicate with on a daily basis, but it is bad for a lot of folks. And we have sunshine. Think about a person who lives in middle America who doesn't have access to water, doesn't have, you know, I mean, drinking water or the ocean. So those are the things that when I'm in my most frustrated moment, I get to look at this painting and say, yo, you got that painting from Cuba when you went blah, 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 blah. Like, I get to have reminders in my house, and that feels really good. But I also don't want to be so disconnected from the people who are out here really, really struggling, because there are a lot.
Oh, and I agree. And I think that, you know, a lot of those people, you know, they need to organize, and there's resources that are starting to develop to help people deal with their rent. And I'm very grateful that I live in California, because I feel like I have a government that's actually looking out for my better needs, versus one that's just completely, you know, focused on economics. And I'm not saying it's not easy, but at least I feel like I'm being taken care of, and there are people I can trust in the process. And please ignore my dog. I'm not giving her enough attention.
No, she wants attention.
Tia has a dog
She's telling me, you've been out there long enough.
Yeah, where's Jada? I saw her back there a minute ago.
Jada, I just want to say one more thing really quickly. both my parents were Holocaust survivors.
Mm.
My mother was in a concentration camp, and my father lived in the woods in a cave for 3 years, trying not to get killed by the Nazis. And I use that story as inspiration too, because I go, okay, living in a nice place. I got food. I'm sacrificing, but it's nothing compared to what they had to deal with. So I should feel a little grateful.
We all have something to be grateful for.
Exactly.
Yes.
Dr. G, let us know a little bit more about when we can expect to watch your new show, what else you have coming up that we should be looking forward to, and where the people can find you. And,
So I'm making sure I get it right. I'm going to start streaming on May 12th on Beyond TV. And it's beyond.tv. And you can follow us on social media at the Dr. G Show and Engaging Minds Show. And also it'll be on YouTube, and we'll be posting short interviews of a lot of the guests that I'll be interviewing at a later date in more in-depth time once we can get into the studio. And the show will be called Engaging Minds with Dr. G. We're going to focus on how I can help people who are dealing with addiction transform their lives, mostly through inspirational stories of people that have been able to do that and create amazing lives.
Dr. G, do you,
Sure.
do you deal, I think I want to come on your show.
I knew this was
But my addiction, I think, might be
I already
shopping.
see what's happening.
I know, really. Talk to my PR.
Yeah, do you help the shoppers? You know, because there are people that shop a lot. So I'm thinking maybe I might need to come on your show, because I've been told that I'm addicted to shopping. So I don't know. I just like nice things.
Oh, well, it's a great point you bring up. When I talk about addiction, I'm not just talking about drugs and alcohol. There's behavioral addiction, there's gambling, there's sex, there's shopping, there's work. Anything that has sort of addictive properties, we would deal with that too. We have someone coming on who's going to be dealing with gaming addiction.
Oh,
You know, a lot of youth, not just youth, a lot of people can spend 8-10 hours a day just on games.
yeah.
And, you know, will not go to work, will even not eat. Just they're so addicted. So, yeah, we're trying to cover that whole world. And
so that doesn't really apply to you yet, Gia, because you still go to work to deal with your shopping addiction, and food ain't gonna go to the left because of your shopping addiction. So you still good right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you want to come on in the future. and the other thing is I have a company called Aranaut Health, and it focuses on addiction recovery, both addiction coaching, and also we do in-home and online addiction services. So what we could basically do is create a rehab program for someone and go do it in the privacy of their home. And we'll do it now and be very specific if it's the right person, being very careful about COVID and following all the right rules. So if someone doesn't want to go into a facility, we can actually bring the people to them and create a program. We also offer a virtual online service where people are offering different classes and courses, etc. So that's at AranautHealth.com.
And we'll put that on our page.
Great.
Thank you. So Ms. Gia, what's up with you? What do we have to look forward to with you? And also, we are supposed to be opening up in the next 2 weeks. Is there anything you guys are looking forward to? Dr. G, real quick.
I miss my friends. I miss some of the actual socializing probably the most. So if I could, you know, if it's a small, I don't need to go to a restaurant, just hanging out and being at someone's house, having dinner. That's probably what I miss the most. And clothes shopping, but we won't go there.
Gia?
Well, actually, again, I haven't been isolated in a house like most people, so it's I don't think I'm really missing much. But I will say I'm looking forward to going to some of my favorite restaurants where I would go to and have breakfast on the weekends. I'm looking forward to doing that. And that's pretty much about it, because I've been, the people that I interact with, I still have been interacting with them via Zoom and phone calls and stuff. So I don't really feel as though I've missed out on people.
Probably wish you could miss some of them more.
Yeah.
True.
Well, one of my clients said to me this morning, she goes, I'm kind of liking this because I don't feel the pressure to have to get together with people I don't like.
I don't have to keep
exactly.
I don't have to get together with family and friends that I don't like.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't have to keep canceling my dates, huh, Sarita?
Yeah, that's another show, Tonya.
Don't be judgy, all right? So, Sarita, what's up with you?
Just trying to see what is going to happen in terms of my grandfather's body. I know it just took a dark turn. My apologies, guys. But because we're here and he's on the East Coast, not really sure how the COVID, because there's a lot of different theories that are going around where they're throwing folks in U-Haul trucks.
I was going to ask you about that.
So there's that theory. There's the theory of they're throwing bodies in refrigerator trucks with toe tags, so it's hard to get people's bodies released to the family.
So I'm sorry, can you back up for me really quick? I wanted to ask you about that. What are they telling you when your family member has passed? Because I've actually spoken with a few people that have stated that they cannot locate their loved one. What are they actually saying to you?
So that's the thing that we're kind of trying to get through right now. What is the process? Because where there's that conversation, there's also conversations that has become more relaxed, where they are giving bodies to the families. If there is a mortuary attached to it, the mortuary can claim the body.
Okay.
But all the mortuaries are backed up right now because there's been so many deaths. So this is where I'm very thankful because our family business is the mortuary business. So we have a lot of connections and contacts. So it's been potentially helpful. We don't know yet. It just happened on Thursday. So we're still trying to figure it out. But yeah, it's a lot of running around. A lot of calling, and you're getting contradictory messages. But also I'm trying to do my best to stay back and stay out of it as much as I can, because unlike with my grandmother, I took that on it was like my thing because she was my person. But my grandfather, he had 4 kids. So I'm attempting to respect the boundary of letting them take care of it, and then just being there for support when they need. So I'm getting information sometimes a day or two later because I'm just not as involved. My mother is, though, bless her heart. But yeah, I couldn't take that on, especially given what's happening with my grandfather, who's still alive. So as I get more information, I can definitely share it. But right now, there's a lot. They're talking about burying people on, I think, Roosevelt Island that have COVID, which is one of the isolated islands, which is unfortunately the same island that was used for when there was a large population of AIDS patients that died in the 80s. That unfortunately, that's the way that New York dealt with it, and many of the population were buried there. So I'm not sure how well this is being orchestrated, but I do love Governor Cuomo, so I'm hoping that he's doing right by families and things.
I know Miss Gia loves Cuomo also.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think we all do.
That's my boo.
I thank God he's here.
That's my boo.
What does
Andrew's doing the thing.
what does 2 weeks from now look like for you, Miss Rita?
Actually 2 weeks from now, I'll be 38 years old. Yeah, so my birthday is the day after we're supposed to be released from, or I guess the stay-at-home orders are lifted. So my birthday is on the 16th and it's lifted on the 15th. I don't want to do anything. I maybe the conspiracy theorist in me, maybe just whatever. I don't trust it yet. I've seen, my neighbors just had a damn birthday party with a damn taco man. Like, fools ain't really taking heed to this. And so I don't want to put my trust in a restaurant. I don't want to put my trust. I went to the vegetable stand to get fruits and vegetables and to support a small business. And the woman didn't wash her hands. And so I'm just like, oh, y'all just really ain't trying to care about getting folks sick and stuff. So I think I will do my own continue to stay at home, safe at home orders and probably be posted up. It's going to be an indoor hot girl summer.
Okay, well, maybe we can have a little Zoom party.
Ah.
So for me, I actually have a client, Carol Fife from the Bay Area, and she is a staunch supporter of housing rights, education, fighting homelessness in the Bay Area in Oakland, California. I don't know if you remember hearing about the headlines where those women mothers were put out of the house in Oakland, the occupied house. She's been leading the fight on that. Anyway, she's having a conversation with Julian Castro and some others soon online. So that'll be on the page if you guys want to head on over there. But for the most part, it's just a matter of opening up, getting our small businesses around here ready for what opening up looks like for them. Ray and I had talked about what would make sense, which looked more like the businesses being able to open up, even if they wanted to keep some of the private areas, the public areas closed. So I'm hoping that at least happens, all of the businesses can open and then let people be responsible for how they handle their customers, their clients, because nobody really wants to be responsible for anyone getting sick, at least business owners, small business owners at that, right? So just working with them. So if you have any resources to help, please send them our way. And other than that, in the next 2 weeks when we see each other again, hopefully we'll all have some good news to share, right? We'll definitely be singing happy birthday. The twins are having their birthday. Their birthday's on the 14th.
Yep, 14th.
So it's going to be interesting.
What are they going to be, 8?
What?
How old are they?
What?
9, 10? Wait, how long have I been? Oh, they're like 11. They're 11 because I've been back in the LA for 10 years. So they're 11.
They'll be turning 10.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So interesting stuff. Let's keep in touch, but we definitely wanted to thank Dr. G for being with us today and
Thank you very much.
Insight, particularly about those that are battling things that we have no answers for. And we just are thankful to have you, and we look forward to your show, and we will definitely support in any information that you have for the people. Please make sure we get it to post it on our page, and you guys can go on My Morning Coffee podcast Facebook page, and you will get all the good stuff from Dr. G. So,
and I wanted to thank everyone for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Any chance I can get, I'm trying to keep my message very simple. I understand that times are really difficult. I'm not being Pollyannish about it, but I'm just trying to find a way to open that door just a little bit, little crack, to see if people can actually, find something, some personal growth, something positive in this experience, so they're not just overwhelmed with all the negativity that we're facing. Yeah. So I'm just, thank you for giving me that opportunity to keep that crack, open that crack just a little bit.
I hope they heed it.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, see you in 2 weeks.
And happy birthday. I probably won't see you, but I'll chime in, but happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care.
All right.